Oh, hello there. Didn't see you. Welcome, Speed Gaming Land. My name is Schwantz27, and we have another Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide race for everybody tonight. And tonight we have a draft special. So what the heck does that mean? It means basically the runners got to choose from several different options as to what the settings of this particular seed will be. Hefe over here in the upper left-hand corner with the purple and green, feeling very Barney the Dinosaur, it looks like today, showing us some of our objectives. The objective of Worlds Collide is to unlock and defeat Final Kefka. In order to do so, we need to recruit 6 characters, find 9 espers, and defeat 4 dragons. In order to unlock a skip right to the statue bosses section of Kefka Tower, we need to defeat 12 unique bosses. We also get a high-tier item for saving that war criminal or, someone that needs to be saved, Sid. And we get plus 10 dragon levels right off the start. So those dragons that we have to defeat, they're going to be a little bit spicier for us today. So what is Worlds Collide anyway? It's basically a randomizer for Final Fantasy VI, or as people in North America will call it, Final Fantasy III, where the items in chests, the items in shops, the characters that you recruit, the commands that they have, the bosses that you will defeat, the espers that you will obtain, the spells on those espers, the bonuses for those espers. Everything is all kind of jumbled up and randomized, and we have to unravel the puzzle in order to unlock and defeat Final Kefka. All of our runners are given 3 Moogle charms, so that this way they can put them on to avoid those pesky random encounters that Final Fantasy games are known for. And the things that are not changed from the vanilla game are things like boss scripts, boss weaknesses, what weapons and gear basically does. So this will be a really interesting race. Our other runners, besides Hefe that I already introduced, Nobody War on the right-hand side of the screen with that, oh my god, my eyes are bleeding neon green and white. And then we have Jesus the Frog with a little slate on white action there in the lower left-hand corner of screen. It is 3 runners from our most recent event, Battlegrounds, that were on the Empire squad. So shout out to you guys in the Empire. I was actually part of the returners. So this will be a really fun race for us tonight. What are some of the other options you may be asking yourself that our runners drafted besides the objectives that we already listed? Well, we have empowered characters. The character starts will be between 110 and 140% of their original value. We also have normalize and distort for the boss stats. That means some of the statistics for the bosses, like their HP and their magic power and their physical power and their defense, will be mutated, basically, so that lower end bosses, like some of the World of Balance bosses, and most notably some of the final game bosses that usually don't have a lot of HP, they are going to be getting a slight buff here. We do start with 3 characters, one of which will be Lock with Capture. So we already know we have Lock, and I'll explain what character gating is once we start the race. That's sort of a unique thing for Worlds Collide, I feel, compared to other randomizers. What else do we have? We have no experience eggs in the Coliseum, auction shops, chests, or events at all, so no experience eggs anywhere. We're going to have relentless scaling. So enemies and bosses in this game gain 2.5 levels for each check or world event we complete. Enemies' maximum scale is level 50, so they are going to be a little bit easier earlier on in the game. Obviously, when you have less checks, they'll be a little bit easier, but as the game progresses, they'll get harder and harder. We will have no characters with natural magic today, and we do have magic that is much stronger than usual. So each Esper will teach 3 to 5 spells. They will all have a random stat bonus, and summons will cost between 50 and 80% of their original MP costs, and you could summon an Esper multiple times in battle. And spells that are being cast, not the Esper summons, but the spells themselves, will be 25 to 75% of their costs. So what are we looking for in this game? Well, our character stats are pretty high, and magic should be especially powerful in the speed. However, the enemies will also be more powerful than usual with the relentless scaling, the normalize and distort, and the plus 10 levels for dragons. However, in needing to defeat 4 dragons in order to unlock Final Kefka, our runners will certainly have their levels cut out for them, because our dragons will drop lots of good stuff, including lots of XP, a 50% MP to learn basically any spell, their vanilla drop, which is usually something pretty good, and a high tier item. So we're going to have to defeat 4 of them in order to unlock Final Kefka. And since we already have Locke, let's sort of talk about Locke's checks, if you will. So in Worlds Collide, there's a concept called character gating, where you could only visit world events, or checks as we like to call them, for the characters that you have recruited to your overall roster. Since we know we have Locke starting right away, we could do 3 different things. We can go to the Narsh World of Ruin weapon shop to get a choice between maybe an Esper for 2 high-tier items. We can also check the Curse Shield count that we can unlock. It's somewhere between 5 and 13, I believe, for this set of settings. We could also go to the South Figaro cave, where you fight tunnel armor in the vanilla game. And we also get the Phoenix Cave, in which there is a dragon there. So we'll see if our runners are going to opt to go for the dragon here, as we do get Edgar right away at one of Shadow's checks. So we have Shadow and Celeste in our party as well. I didn't see what commands those 2 have, but I'm sure that once we get into a fight, we will go ahead and get those. So that's the first thing that Nobody War decided to do. Meanwhile, both Hefe and Jesus the Frog are going towards World of Balance Narsh, which is interesting because that is not the World of Ruin Narsh, where you might find Locke's weapon shop. So that'll be interesting to see for the future on here, as Nobody War is in a different part of the world than our other 2 runners. He's in World of Balance Thamasa. There are 6 treasure chests in here, so he's going to go loot some of them. Remember, they are randomized. That's a nice force shield in there. Meanwhile, the other 2 runners on the left-hand side of the screen in World of Balance Narsh, there are some 10 or so treasure chests, 11 if you get the one in the Elder spot. So let's see what happens with our things that we find. There are snipers there in the weapon shop of World of Balance Narsh. So with this flag set, our characters can equip everything they could equip in the vanilla game, of which Locke can equip a sniper in the vanilla game. And we also can equip 33% of stuff that we couldn't equip in the vanilla game. So we'll see if that crops up and who that is going to be affecting here. Hefe and Jesus the Frog over to the Returner's hideout, as I'm just going to sync up our streams a little bit here. So just give us 1 second while I sync them up a little bit. I think I've sunk them. Nobody War is still a little bit further behind, so let's change that. And Nobody War is actually in the World of Ruin Narsh now. We could see, because Locke is actually picking the locks for his particular team. The treasure chests inside of this hut are the same no matter which world we are in, so that part doesn't really matter. The part that does matter is that he does have Locke and is able to check this Curse Shield here, as well as what is in the Narsh weapon shop. He will get a choice of 2 things. We see some Warp Stones and some Phoenix Downs, some Revivify, some Echo Screens. That is a really nice item shop there. That's basically all of the stuff you really need to get going. That is a Curse Shield count of 7. So it is 7 battles to uncurse the Curse Shield in order to have the Paladin Shield. In this set of options, we do not allow our runners to learn Ultima. It's a pretty overpowered spell, so we have a flag that enables Ultima or not. For this particular set of options, Ultima is not enabled. And inside of the Narsh weapon shop, those are atrocious choices between a Force Shield and an Economizer. Nobody War picking the Force Shield over the Economizer. Economizer might be really nice early on in the run, where our magic spells cost more, although they'll only be 25 to 75% in this particular set of options, so maybe the Economizer was not the pick there. The Force Shield is relatively good because it basically cuts magic damage in half, as there is a ribbon in one of the chests there. That'll be really nice to go along with that Cursed Shield to negate some of the negative effects, and some fixed dice in a pot there as well. So anybody wondering what the draft options are for tonight, I just put the link in the chat. And as always, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me. I may or may not know the answer, but I sure know how to delegate to find somebody who knows what the heck they're talking about. So in the world of Ruin now, with Edgar, Nobody War, remember, is the only person that has Edgar so far. We actually get a discount on the shops, as there's a Thunder Shield in a box there as well. The treasure is slightly different depending upon if you're in the world of Ruin or world of Balance. You can go loot both in South Figaro, and you get half off of the shops, as we see some earrings there in the relic shop. Those are nice to pick up. Those will basically add 50% damage to our magic users, 25% if you wear just one. Question for Drinks Glue. Have I found out your Venmo password? Well, I still haven't gotten $1, but you know what our runners have gotten? The Yeti. That's right. We have a Sasquatch in the basement of South Figaro there. That is one of Celeste's checks, the South Figaro prisoner spot. So let's chat about, as Hefe has not actually picked up the Yeti yet, I don't think. Let's talk about some of the other checks that we're going to see here. I did already mention Locke's 3 checks. Celeste has the South Figaro prisoner spot, which we've seen. The Opera House Disruption, where Ultros pushes the 4-ton weight off. And the Magitech Factory is actually a 3-part check, so you can get up to 3 rewards for going in the Magitech Factory. Shadow has the Gal Manor, which we saw, which is where Edgar was. He also has... sorry about that. He also has the Floating Continent, which is a 3-part check. Again, you can get up to 3 rewards on the Floating Continent. And the Velt Cave, where you rescue him in the world of Ruin, where you could actually go and look and see what the reward is before you go. Nobody War, meanwhile, picking up his Yeti, so he's already at 5 characters, and we are about 6 minutes into this race, so that's pretty crazy for him. I will be right back in just 1 second. All right, cat owners, you know how it is. Had to make sure that the cat wasn't destroying everything and anything. So yeah, I missed what the commands were for battle, but we're going to see it here over on Hefe's side of the screen. Shadow with health. That is one of Bannon's abilities. We've got a steal on Celeste, a capture unlock that we knew from the get-go, and we have Yeti Smash at Umaro. Jesus the Frog heading into the Coliseum to see if there's anything there, and there's absolutely nothing there. So the Coliseum, the rewards and enemies are completely randomized. What up, Moogleplex? Raiding with a party of 11. Welcome. I'm sorry there are no tables up front that seat that many people, but you could have a spot in the back all to yourself. Come sit down and hang out with the rest of the crew. I didn't see what ability Edgar had from when Nobody War got into his fight, or maybe he didn't get into a fight yet, so we'll have to see. Jesus the Frog here, picking his choice between the Force Shield or the Economizer. If he really wants that Economizer later, we need to find Terra in order to go ahead and grab that behind the Welk spot, which is one of Terra's things. Health is pretty awesome to have on your starting characters, especially when doing grind fights here, because it allows you to keep your party at full health, which is something that gets kind of dangerous early on, because all of our runners start at level 3. Thankfully, the scaling is only 2.5 times the number of checks we've done, and most of the runners have only done 1 or 2 checks. So Nobody War has an extra character because he's done one extra check. Actually, he's done 2 extra checks because he did the Narsh Weapon Shop as well. So he's actually even further ahead of scaling than the rest of our runners are. Magitech on Edgar. So that is another one of those less seen abilities there from the vanilla game. We only will have access to Fire, Ice, and Bolt Beam, along with the Heal Beam, because there is no objective this time to unlock the full Magitech potential. Edgar can use the fixed ice, so that's something nice for both Jesus the Frog and Nobody War picking up Edgar if they do not want to use Magitech there. Our runners do get the benefit of having 110 to 140% of vanilla character stats. Edgar's magic power is not great. It's not terrible either. It's not like Cyan, let's say. And it looks like Jesus the Frog is going to head into the Figaro Castle. So Edgar unlocks the Figaro Throne here, which you could visit in either the World of Balance or the World of Ruin. And then he unlocks what I like to call the Edgar Loop of checks. The Figaro Engine Room, where you fight the tentacles in the vanilla game, and then the Ancient Castle, where you could fight a dragon, which is sort of important for this particular flag set, because we need to beat 4 dragons to unlock Final Kefka. And Jesus the Frog on the throne, the air is a shiny stone. Wow, that was a rhyme. Can't make this up. Final Fantasy VI Freestyle. Anyway, gonna go in the shop in the Figaro Castle. So if Edgar is in the front of your party in either World of Balance or World of Ruin Figaro Castle, you also get half off of everything on here. Hefe looks like he took some grind fights in order to equip the Yeti to try and figure out if there's anything in the Coliseum here. There's a scimitar, which is eh. There's a Dao robe, which is also eh. And it looks like Hefe's a gambling man. People in the chat, quick, what do you think this item is going to be that he's going to win from the Parasite? I'm going to say darts. Dirk! Hey, I was close. No, Dirk is actually much worse than darts. Nobody War taken off the Moogle Charm by the South Figaro Puddle and finding some undead enemies, throwing some Revivifies and Phoenix Downs at them to get rid of them rather quickly. And the thing about this formation is those flowers there, they will grant you a Revivify when you actually kill them. So that's really nice. All right, so what do we think we get with a soft? I'm going to go with a Tempest. Give me something good. Come on now. Coronet. That's a helmet that I don't hate. We've gone from meh to things I don't absolutely hate. One can get into a trap in the Coliseum where you fight all these fights and fight these battles, and here is some more undead enemies for Nobody War just stocking up on these, and that is a Rage Ring for Hefe for a Phoenix Down, so that's pretty nice. If we need Calmness Protection, and our characters can wear that Rage Ring, not Calmness Protection, Merton Protection, we can maybe go and get some Rage Rings there. This is a dangerous fight with the Hermit Crab because it can counter with and there's the Blizzard Orb. So we got the Yeti full combo package going on now, the Blizzard Orb and the Rage Ring. That enemy can sometimes counter with Petrify, which basically means you lose that fight, which is never fun. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog is setting his party members up here, and I think Nobody War is trying to get to a point where he's got enough levels, and he's in South Figaro Cave, which is one of Locke's checks. So hoping to combo this level gaining in with a check to actually earn him a reward. I didn't see what the drop for that particular item was there. Nobody War also looking to uncurse that shield, and Hefe here now going to pick up the curse shield after doing the grind fights. A bit of a misstep there, perhaps. You want to pick up the curse shield before you do your grind fights, so this way you can uncurse it, but it is 7 in this particular flag set, so it's a relatively low number there. So our runners are still trying to come to grips with what the heck check do I do first. Nobody War here is is fumbling around in South Figaro Cave, remember, he took a lot of checks. And our character enemy ability scaling is based on how many checks you do. And that means that the bosses won't be that hard at the beginning, but they'll get very, very difficult later on. I believe there was a Beavis and Butthead sighting on Hefe's screen. And it looks like Jesus the Frog is in the Opera House, but forgot to talk to the Chancellor. Gotta talk to him first. Go back and talk to the guy that runs the show. Yeah, so Jesus the Frog heading into the Opera House disruption. This is one of Celeste's checks. This will allow us to potentially grind on those rats there up in the rafters, and there's a boss fight at the end of this. So I like to do this check early on in games because it'll allow me to get some levels underneath my belt and polish off a boss here. So we'll see if Jesus the Frog has what it takes to get past this first boss. We have no idea what it is, but I still like this play. Another play in similar vein to that is Floating Continent, where you must fight 3 random encounters and then a gauntlet of 2 bosses. Thankfully, you do get a story heal in between the bosses, but it looks like Hefe is heading up to the world of Ruin Narsh with the Yeti, so we could defeat Tritok, which is not character gated, for either an Esper or an item. Then we can go to the Yeti spot and get that reward and polish off the dragon, which we need to unlock Final Kefka. And this is a Kefka's Tower battle here with Enoch and Fortis. This is not something you want to see very early on. This is awful. I'm very worried about that lock being confused with the Wing Edge. A Wing Edge has the ability to proc instant death, and we do not want that to happen on our own team here. Thankfully, we have Bolt Beam, and both of these being mechanical things means that Bolt Beam works, or the good okie doke there from the assassin. That'll do it too. Meanwhile, we have a white dragon for Hefe. Unfortunately, we don't have Mute learned yet to counter him. And we got Vargas and the Apple Toilets. The Eye-Poo is over for Nobody War, so the 2 bears are dead, and we now just have to dispatch a Vargas here on his side. Yeah, that's the thing. When you run up the score by getting all of these different free checks, you run the risk of the enemies being too powerful for you to kill. However, the enemies, when they're at higher levels, will also give out more XP. So it's sort of like a dangling carrot problem there, as we see Hefe take out his first Dragon of the Seed, and Nobody War is already in character go mode there with Cyan. Cyan has Dance. Have you ever seen a Samurai Boogie? I bet you're willing to see what that looks like now. Nobody War, the real MVP of the stream, putting Yeti back in the party. Because he knows that's what the people like to see. Unfortunately, our Dancing Cyan is going to ride the bench because his equipment pool isn't that great, and Dance is not that great of a command, especially on someone with 28 magic power, even with a 110% to 140% buff. It is number 24 up at the Tritok spot. This can only reward an Esper or an item, but it will also reward us some magic points. Unfortunately, Hefe has not dug that Esper from the Figaro throne because he did not get Edgar at all yet. Alright, so we have wildly different party compositions here between our 3 runners. And that's one of the great things I love about Worlds Collide is there's no one way to do a seed. I mean, sometimes there is, it's pretty linear, but most of the time it's not. Because with each character you unlock, you get that many more options open to you. And Nobody War, being the only person that has Cyan, can go into this 3-part check of Cyan's Dream. Also has access to Doma Siege in the World of Balance and Mount Zozo in the World of Ruin, where, yes, there is yet another dragon. So we have plenty of options for getting our dragons done in this seed. We do have to get to 4 of them in order to unlock Kefka. And that is Maduin up on the Tritok Cliff. Hefe's first Esper. Let's see what it has. Absolute gutter tier garbage. Actually, that's not true. Mute is actually kind of helpful, especially for Final Kefka. And remember, folks, we do have relentless scaling, so that is everything besides Final Kefka is scaled based on the number of checks we've done, times 2.5. And we also have plus 10 levels for the dragons. Speaking of XP, Hefe digging in a monster in a box here in Umaro's cave and getting Gigantos, the largest XP per level enemy in the entire game. You love to see it. And that elixir steal as well. The swag, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, over on Nobody War screen at the first spot of Cyan's Dream is Ifrit. So thankfully we have the Ice Beam on hand. Otherwise, Ifrit is basically going to shrug off the rest of these hits, other than ice or something that ignores defense, like the Yeti Body Slam. Oh boy, it is a statue boss in the Opera House Disruption with Doom here at the end of those rats. Talk about a nightmare Opera House. Enoch Fortis battles, and then Doom as the boss at the end. Yick. It is a Shiva appearance for Nobody War, so Shiva is basically the opposite of Ifrit, but with fire. Celeste has a fire knuckle, so this will actually hurt. One thing you can do, as one of our esteemed colleagues points out in the chat, Falcon Hit, is when Ifrit and Shiva are trading places between one another, you could actually run away from this fight, because the game does not check the can we run away from this flag. And it looks like we have yet another character at Umaro's cave. Hefe is invited to touch the carving, and who is walking down from the top of the screen? It is Gao! Ooh, wow! The beast. Oh boy, though. It is Goddess, another statue boss. Doom, being a pain in the you-know-what, as always, freezes half of our party. And especially worse is freezing our Magitech user, who has the Fire Beam. That, I believe, was an Esper there from Nobody War. It is Tritalk for defeating Ifrit and Shiva. And we did steal a Minerva from Goddess, courtesy of Hefe. However, the Yeti is going to cause us problems, because Goddess will counter physical attacks with Love Token, and Love Token makes your party members eat physical attacks for her. That is a merchant jumping from car to car on Nimbly Bimbly, +1 if you get that reference, for Nobody War there in the second part of Cyan's Dream. So that must be another Esper there. We're on to the second phase of Doom, where he gets the image status and the reflect status, so it's going to be hard to hit him. Thankfully, I think Locke just broke that image status, or maybe it was Celeste that did. So now we could actually damage our Doom once more time. Meanwhile, Goddess telling Yeti, hey, you take my physical attacks. This is going to be a rough fight without having any magic really to use. Yeti jumping across the screen to throw Celeste at himself. Well played, Umaro. Well played. That's what we love to see. That's the quality content we come around here for. And now Yeti is confused. I mean, he was confused before. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, by the way, ff6worldscollide.com is our website, so be sure to check it out if you would like to play this game. I don't know if Hefe has a way to kill Goddess other than just brute forcing it with physical attacks, and that's not great. Not very good for her health. Meanwhile, Nobody War is taking off the Moogle Charm with the Magitech gear. This is something that you can do for grind fights if you really want to. In Cyan's Dream, you have the option of taking the Moogle Charm off, and you will actually get the Magitech gear on all of your characters, which is pretty nice. Oh, Celeste getting bodied again. Oh, man. Hefe's team is just beating itself up over here. Nice graphical glitches on the screen with taking the Moogle Charm off here. Yeah, so good to point out at this point, we have normalize and distort boss stats on. And now we have Zombie Celeste hitting people in the party. This is just an all-around unmitigated disaster. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog gets an Imp Sprite, so that is the Ifrit Magicite. Got Strength +2, Pearl, and Life. So that is a very nice Esper there. I think, chat, that was probably worth going into the Opera House. All right. And we do have, finally, Goddess going down for Hefe. Shadow, unfortunately, being dead means that he will not get any of this juicy XP or MP that Goddess grants. But you know what? It's sometimes better to win the fight than to tilt at windmills trying to get your characters up. And he unlocks his 5th character, Gao, my favorite character in Worlds Collide because he has 2 chances to have great abilities. Hefe, however, says no to Gao and is going to walk out of here. The walk of shame. You could Warp Stone if you had it. Jesus the Frog getting his health and magic refill before going against his Vargas in the Ipu's fight. And then Nobody War over here has learned Bolt 2, thankfully, from that Thunder Shield we looted back in South Figaro to go up against Guardian, another endgame boss. So we've seen 3 endgame bosses so far between our runners. We've seen Doom, we've seen Goddess, and now we've seen Guardian. This gives me hope that there won't be bad things lurking in Kefka's Tower, but you know what? I have been wrong about that before. Unfortunately, nobody on Hefe's team could equip the fixed ice. It is just Edgar. And it looks like both Jesus the Frog and Nobody War have thought that Edgar's skills are better used doing Magitech stuff for right now. And there it is, Guardian down. Unfortunately for Hefe, these PM Stalkers are undead, so trying to hit it with a item like a Wing Edge that procs instant death will bring these right back to life immediately. Jesus the Frog sits Cyan down on the bench as well. And good heads up game knowledge here by Hefe. You could actually steal X potions off of these PM Stalkers, and there's 4 of them in this fight. So having Steal and Capture will allow you to get some X potions. Calmness protection for Nobody War in the form of Fenrir over at Doma Dream number 2, and then Doma Dream number 3 is Shiva. So Cyan's Dream is really the dream tonight, folks, with 3 Espers there. Really nice. Meanwhile, we got some Dragoon Boots for Jesus the Frog there in Tizen. I did not actually see what the price of the Tizen Thief was tonight. And it looks like Hefe is going to feed Sid the fish. You have to talk to Sid first, and then you have to feed him. So in order to save Sid, you need to go look for the fast fish. Those are those fish that are swimming fast as you know what, boy. And there's one of them. This will give him a bunch of HP, and he has 120. When he gets to 120 HP, rather, is when he is saved. And I believe he starts out at 60. Either that or he starts at 120 and you need to get to 240. But in order to reset the pond, you have to go back and talk to Sid once again. There are no fish in the pond, so Hefe has to go talk to Sid one more time. And that dialogue there's actually an HP range, and each HP range corresponds to a bit of dialogue. So there's a medium fish and a very slow fish. So we're going to try to feed him this medium fish to try and nurse him up to health. But there is one good medium fish and one bad medium fish. So that one is always a gamble right there. Meanwhile, we have a Master Tonberry here for Nobody War. And he says, nah, I'm good. I'm out of here. After Umaro just roughs him up a little bit. Umaro's like the enforcer of our crew. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog heading into the Magitech factory, and he will have a decision to make as to whether he wants to go all the way to the 3rd part of the Magitech factory or warp out after 2 checks. The first 2 checks can only reward an Esper or an item, and the 3rd check is guaranteed progression. However, it is behind 3 forced encounters and 2 bosses, as there is another elemental shield there for Nobody War, an ice shield in the cave on the Veld, and that is an imp on the ground. So that means that this is an item here in the Veld cave. So Nobody War says, "Nah, I'm good, fam," and he's going to warp out of there. And there it is. High tier item complete for Hefe. Has feed Sid enough fish, and whoa, getting the offering to pair with that fixed dice. It is too bad that he does not have anybody to actually use those fixed dice. Wah, 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 wah. Air Force here is the first boss in the Magitech Factory. One of my nemesises. Nemesi? What's the plural of nemesis? Anyway, Nobody War is heading into the Phoenix Cave. So, something I mentioned early on, when we knew that we were going to start with Locke, this is a great check because it not only will give us a reward at the end, it will also allow us to kill a dragon. So that's what he's going to do here, is he is going to clear the way for his party in order to go and fight that dragon there. Meanwhile, Hefe heading into the Opera House, so Hefe is going to fight all those nasty battles that Jesus the Frog did, as well as that Doom at the end of it. The plural of nemesis is nemeses. Or the Neem sisters. I like Neem sisters better. Alright, so Hefe is going to be doing some Charlie work. Anybody that's watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Killing all the rats here up in the rafters, and then going to go fight Doom. So as part of the latest update to Worlds Collide is actually somewhat active with its updates. It is in open source mode. One of the latest things that we did was to normalize the battles across the seeds. And we'll see the exact same fights here on Hefe's screen that we did see in Jesus the Frog's case. We used to have it so that the battles were just randomized battle encounters, but now we have battle encounters that will make it such that every runner will get the same formations from the same rats, or in the Burning House the same flames, or in the Leet River the same spots. So that's really nice to see, and you're seeing it play out in real time here. Meanwhile, that is not the end game Kefka, that is Kefka and Narsha's Kefka here for Jesus the Frog at Magitech number 2. He did get an Esper, I believe, at Magitech number 1. And Hefe is getting yeeted off the top here by the Ultras. Yeah, Wing Edge offering. You could proc instant death 4 different times. That is an Ice Shield for Jesus the Frog. And here you see another update that we did with our newest 1.4 release, is we've toned down the poison pixelation so that you can kind of actually see where the heck you're going now. So it's not, oh my god, I need to look away. But it still lets you know, hey, something's wrong. You gotta go unpoison your characters. Meanwhile, Nobody War says, "Fight me, bro," to the Red Dragon, and in this case, it is the Storm Durgan. Thankfully, he has Bolt 2. So, very nice learning these spells early on to counteract some of the bosses that Nobody War has seen between Guardian and the Storm Dragon. Remember, each dragon has plus 10 levels from the draft, so this is going to be a pretty beefy Storm Dragon. Tempest offering is a nightmare. The Wind God Gao strategy takes forever. And this is a speed run after all, right, folks? Like, we're trying to beat this game as fast as humanly possible. So Jesus the Frog is going to head through the third section of the Magitech Factory on the minecart here, 3 force encounters and a boss. Then he gets a story heal before a second boss at the end of the Magitech Factory. And this is guaranteed to be an Esper or an item, so he won't get a nice shield like he did the last time. Nobody War defeats his dragon, gets his Genji shield as his high-tier item drop. Yick. But what is at the end here of the Phoenix Cave? It is a merchant sprite, so is this an Esper? Yes, it is. So he's going to pick up Esper number 4 there at the end of the Phoenix Cave with that that check. And it is Raiden. And no, this is not Mortal Kombat, but that is a good Esper summon to have because it will instant death everything on the screen, which is certainly helpful from one of the final battles. All right, so Doom is down from Hefe. I don't know if that was faster or slower than Jesus the Frog. It felt a lot faster. Meanwhile, Hefe is going to get his Esper here, his second piece of Magicite from doing this check. We know that because Jesus the Frog had done it earlier on. And we have so much available to us now with the characters that we have. 54,000 for that high tier item at Zen Thief, so no thanks. We are going to see if there's anything else that's worthwhile in here, and then we're going to get the heck out. I believe, Lauren's sketch on that Gao. A Valiant Knife for sale. Nobody War finds it. World of Balance to Zen. If Hefe made his way over there, he could have a nice build for Locke, because remember, he got that offering from saving Sid. That was the high tier item reward, so we'll see if Nobody War decides to do that, or he could just hunt Monster in a Box chests all day long. So that'll be interesting to see if he does that. Puts the VK on to Yeti, which is an interesting choice. Yeti will attack basically every turn, but sometimes he does a body slam instead of a normal fight command, so that will not help with the Valiant Knife. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog running into Haydn and the Hyde Knights, everybody's favorite Final Fantasy jazz band. Unlike in the vanilla game, Haydn's undead property is turned off with this particular set of options, so we cannot just use a Phoenix Down or Revivify on this boss here as the first of the 2 bosses at the end of Magitech Factory. So as Jesus is heading out, Nobody War is heading in. We'll pick up at least an Esper and yet another Elemental Shield. So that'll be his 3rd Elemental Shield of the race. Hefe, meanwhile, fighting off the circling little annoyances here, the Humpties that are Dumpty, but they're also undead. So trying to use that wing edge against these Humpties will bring them back to life. So that is why Hefe is avoiding Locke's turn like the plague, taking down those feeble creatures one by one. And everybody's poisoned for Jesus the Frog now. Thankfully, like I said, we get a story healed before the second boss, so we don't have to worry about clearing that status. And everybody, it's a flying, dabbing Yeti. Here we go. First boss in the floating continent. We also get a story heal after this fight for Hefe. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any fire besides the fire beam. Nobody War using the Bolt 2 to his advantage. It looks like he found an Esper with Ice 3 on it as well. That'll be nice for the Final Kefka fight, because one of the parts of Final Kefka is weak to ice. And while we got some boss battles going on, make sure you give these runners a follow. Show them some support for them putting on an excellent show. Ooh, Jesus using the Sleeping Dag here. Don't need to use the Sleeping Dags. PSA. Before this, you will get an instant story heal at the end of this, right before you fight the boss. That is a merchant, so that is yet another Magicite, and that is Calmness Protection for Jesus the Frog as well, with Golem, and it is a time waste in the form of Narappa at the end of this fight. Narappa, however, has the Reflect status, so unfortunately, we can't cast spells on it, but Odin, which will instant death everything on the screen, will certainly work out here for Jesus the Frog. It's a little this isn't even like French vanilla, it's some other weird form of vanilla that I don't even want to think about. Atma, who is the older brother of Atma Weapon, who is at the 2nd floating continent spot, is the boss of the 1st floating continent spot. Chat, you're gonna need to come up with some flavor of ice cream to describe this situation, because I'm all out of ideas. Vanilla bean? Tahitian vanilla, is that a thing? I don't know. What's everybody's favorite flavor ice cream? That's what you missed, Fitz. We're just pigging out. One Free Fits, by the way, we'll be running in a marathon for Game Over Cancer tonight around 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So that is basically in 45 minutes. So if you'd like to go and check that out, I will throw that link down in the stream there. So go on and show some support. Obviously, after this race is over, you want to pay attention to me first, right? Jesus the Frog running into yet another endgame boss with Inferno. So that's Atma, Inferno, Guardian, Doom, and Goddess that we've seen thus far. He did get an Esper at the end of Magitech. I didn't see what he got yet, as that is Unicorn for Hefe at the guaranteed progression spot of Floating Continent number 1. So we got Chocolate, Butterscotch, Ripple, Strawberry Atma. I love myself some strawberry. Rum Raisin, and White Ice Cream Christmas. Mint. I'm not a big mint fan. It certainly helps for having some cash. Let's see. Oh, a Force Armor for Jesus the Frog here. So that was a boss at Doma Siege just for the sense of getting some levels for his party and learning some spells. We found a Flame Shield somewhere, it looks like, for Jesus the Frog, so that's nice to teach some fire too. My favorite ice cream is actually creamsicle, vanilla and orange sherbet. And yes, it is sherbet. There's only one R in that word. I will not stand for anything else. Nobody War getting their ice shield at the end of Magitech 2. Hefe, meanwhile, taking the long walk over to the second part of the Floating Continent, as Jesus the Frog is starting with the Floating Continent. So lots of 3-part checks available to our runners between the Magitech Factory, Cyan's Dream, and Floating Continent. Let's see. What are some of the things we have not seen yet? Well, we've seen all of Shadow's checks, because the Velt Cave was an imp, so that was a dead check. We've seen the Yeti checks. We've seen all of Celeste's checks. We haven't seen any of Gao's stuff yet. Who else do we have? And we have Edgar, so we haven't seen the World of Ruin Edgar stuff. That is a reset there for Jesus the Frog. Maybe he's thinking about doing something other than going up to the Floating Continent, and I'm pretty sure that this is Magimaster here. Oh god, Floating Continent 2. Who said it? Who said Magimaster? I know that somebody literally just said it. One Free Fitz said Magimaster left statue. Get out, Fitz. Get out now. Please leave. It's the only time I'll ever encourage anybody to stop watching. But this fight is going to stink. Magimaster is susceptible to Berserk, but I don't think we have that anywhere. And how this Magimaster fight goes is he has very high physical evade, and we did fix the evade bug from the vanilla game. He also will cast Wall Change every time he's damaged, which will change his elemental weakness to 1 element. He will nullify 6 elements, and then he will absorb the last one that is left over. So we have a big problem here in that we may not know what we're supposed to kill Magimaster with at any given time. The way to do this fight is to use non-elemental magic or defense-ignoring attacks, like that Yeti body slam there, or use an Offering Valiant Knife or Fixed Dice. Yeah, so it looks like Hefe's going to go ahead and give the Yeti the haste, and it's a 1v1 between Magimaster and Yeti. Chat, who do you think wins? Are we going to have the dab or are we going to have the rip? Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog breaking down the door with the Rust Rid for Cyan's Mount Zozo check. Actually, we haven't seen this one yet. This is another one of the checks that we haven't seen yet. And is taking on the Skull Durgan here at the dragon spot. So I think Yeti has a Rage Ring on for sure. I don't know if he also has a Blizzard Orb on. But if Yeti has a Rage Ring on, that means he will absorb fire and nullify lightning. If he still has the Snow Muffler on, he will absorb ice. So that is basically all of Magimaster's turns are either lightning, fire, or ice, except for the fourth attack in his script is going to be either mute, poison, or doom. So let's hope that it is not a doom and that Yeti will get past this here. As Jesus the Frog does take down his first dragon of the seed. I did not see what the reward was because I was trying to figure out what to do with Magimaster here. Oh, and Yeti is poisoned. That is bad. Because now we have a clock ticking on Yeti. Thankfully, he'll get healed basically almost every other turn. Because he absorbs both ice and fire. So any ice or fire spells, he'll get health back. But then he's going to lose health every single time because bio. And there's Magimaster's high physical evade, as I mentioned. Will make sure that Umaro misses most of his turns when he just tries to use his normal attack, and it only does 40. The only time that he'll actually be able to do any damage is a Yeti body slam. So, I wonder when the last time Hefe saved. Because if Hefe saved at the beginning of the floating continent, he'd have to reset and then walk to the midpoint and jump on the ship at that point. If he saved at the spot right before the ship, he could have just reset already and done this. But I think he's going to stick it out, folks, because he had no idea. Meanwhile, Nobody Ward gets his 6th Magicite, I believe. Nope, he's still at 5. Gets his 5th Magicite from the end of the Magitech Factory. Jesus the Frog heading up to the World of Ruin Norsh, which has a dragon, and it has another character, Gal, at the Umaro spot. Yeah, if I was Hefe, I would have reset already. Even if it meant I lost the trip to the floating continent, because it's got to be faster than doing this, right? Ooh, Jesus the Frog does have Berserk on one of his characters. Oh, Yeti wins! The Slam-a-lama ding-dong! Hefe outlasting Magimaster for the offering. Let's go. Just for that, we got to give Hefe some love in the chat. Make sure you drop him a follow to make Beavis and Butthead show up on his screen one more time. Meanwhile, there is Mute, so Jesus the Frog may not know that the White Dragon is susceptible to Mute. The Gold Dragon is actually susceptible to being berserked. So each of the dragons have sort of a status weakness, or at least most of them do. Some of them is Sleep and Slow, others is Mute and Berserk. But that is the 2nd dragon down for Jesus the Frog here, as Nobody War is at the Doma Siege. Good heads-up game knowledge. They are stealing the Flame Shield from one of the arms of Inferno. So the steals are the same as they are in Vanilla, so that is a great heads-up play by him there. Pero que Nadis saying Outsider Madam at the end of Floating Continent. Stop it. Is he out of Phoenix Downs as well? Oh, this can get dangerous. You got enemies throwing stuff at you. Run away. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Does he have anything to get these characters back up? I don't know if he's out of Phoenix Downs. Meanwhile, the Magimaster at home on Jesus the Frog's screen, that is number 24. Thank God Jesus the Frog noped out of the Floating Continent play. Actually, it would have been much better because he has Berserk, right? So. Rivet Finder saying he's out of Phoenix Downs. That is not a place you want to be. Well, here we go. What is this? Oh, no. It's Niles and Frazier, the Cranes. Well, one of these cranes is weak to lightning, and one of them absorbs lightning. And thankfully, he casts lightning on the right crane. And by right crane, I mean the one on the right, not the correct crane. See what I did there? Alright, well, Hefe is going to kill off this crane on this side, and then he just has to deal with the crane on the other side. And thankfully, he's got a Thunder Shield on, so yeah, definitely kill the one that, or leave the one alive that only casts Thunder. That's a great strategy here from Hefe. Madwin Esper for Jesus the Frog, and Nobody War is going to be taking on his White Durgan here. Yeah, this floating continent has been a clench the entire time. So, the options in this particular race are, the scaling is checks times 2.5 rather. So right now, Hefe, this is going to be this is his 8th check. So his opponents are at 16 plus 4, which is 20. And I believe he's a little bit over level 20. And this crane, unfortunately, weak to fire. Or absorbs lightning, rather. Jesus the Frog also with good heads up there, knowing you could steal an X potion from the Gigantos here in the Monster in a Box. This is what I'm afraid of. Magnitude 8 here for Hefe. Okay. I am no longer afraid. And he gets through having one character left, 0 Phoenix Downs, after going toe-to-toe with Magimaster from Yeti. Hefe is finally off of that godforsaken floating continent. And he is going to get a second Esper. So 2 Espers, 1 Magimaster fight. and Hefe is done. If I'm him, I'm never doing the floating continent ever again. And it looks like Hefe is going to go find some Phoenix Downs. Big boy Gao stomping down the Yeti cave there, as Jesus the Frog is going up against Goddess, stealing the Minerva off of her back right away. Unfortunately, forgetting that Pearl is one of the 2 elements with lightning that Goddess absorbs. So that attack from Shadow is going to be twice as bad. And he's going to go to sleep. Love token out on our Valiant Knife user is never a fun thing. So it seems that both Jesus the Frog and Nobody War got that Valiant Knife, whereas Hefe has not. Hefe also picking himself up some dried meat here. So I think we're going to see the Velt checks from him. And Nobody War has 7 Espers that I somehow missed. Oh, that's right. He just did the Tritalk one. So I definitely missed that one. And I don't remember what the one I missed before that was. Maybe it was the end of the Magitech Factory, right? He went all the way through that. So I missed 2 Espers from him. Hefe's tracking information is correct, as is Jesus the Frog. And we've got Overcast from Goddess, so now we are on a timer, and a very small timer in that. But Jesus the Frog knows that Goddess is very high magic defense, and Flare gets around that very high magic defense, even though it is slow. Unfortunately, Locke is turned into a Cranberries song. He is now a zombie. If I have to explain the joke, it's not very good, so maybe I just won't next time. And Nobody War is also fighting Goddess at the same time. Thank you, Locke, for hitting the correct target there. Hefe, meanwhile, knowing that you could actually talk to the people in the little shed right outside of the Magitech Factory, that's where we are. And if you defeat this random encounter, or you could just run away, you'll actually get a heal, a full party heal. So instead of spending money on Phoenix Downs, you can just do this and heal yourself right afterwards. which is really nice. Good heads-up vanilla gameplay knowledge exhibited by lots of people. And you get XP, which always helps. You know who's not getting XP is Jesus the Frog's Celeste, as we are going to get character number 7 here in the form of Gao. Now at this point in the run, we probably don't want Gao. However, this is a really good opportunity to split your party up into 3 members in order to do the Velt check if he's found dried meat. What you can do is at that party select screen, just put your party down to 3, and it'll save you having to go back into the menu a second time here. Meanwhile, we get the best, or what some people may say is the best music in the game. I don't think it is. I like Kefka's Tower music better than this. But I know a lot of people like Magitech Factory. A lore sketch Gao there for Nobody War as his 7th character. And it seems like we're looking for espers here in this particular run. With so many characters in the very beginning of the seed opened up pretty wide, but it is narrowing rather quickly. I think the only things we have not seen is World of Ruin Edgar stuff and Gao's checks. Kefka's theme is also really good. You get to hear it in Tier 3 of Dancing Mad, if you know where to look in the baseline. Yeah, I don't know, man. Shadow's theme, I love from this game. I love Terra's, like, sad awakening theme, too. It's hard to pick one track from this game. And we did get to hear the Opera House music, because Hefe did get to go through that. That was something that we changed rather recently, where instead of cutting to the boss music in the Opera House disruption, we let what's called Grand Finale, that's the name of the track. We let Grand Finale play out, so you get a cool, unique boss theme in that spot. We're finally getting some new information on Jesus the Frog's screen. He is heading down to the World of Ruin Edgar stuff. He has to first defeat what's ever at the engine room, and then he can access the ancient castle, and there's a dragon down in the ancient castle. Ooh, this Air Force is being. Air Force can be a pain in the neck, especially later on when he has access to things like shrapnel and launcher and fun stuff like that. Shout out for Velt theme. Velt theme is fun. All right, and we've got a flame eater down in the down on the pasta here for Jesus the Frog. Nobody War grabs his 3rd dragon there, and will be disappointed with the Garbo that is at the end of the Mount Zozo check. So Nobody War has the most espers and the most dragons, and he technically also has the most characters too. But does he have the most checks done? Yes, he does by far. Hefe is at 10, Nobody War is at 18 once he picks up this. And Jesus the Frog, after defeating that boss there, is at 16. With another Magicite that is Kieran. So even though Nobody War looks like they are out in front with 7, 7, and 3, Jesus the Frog, being in a spot that none of our other runners have been to yet, might actually be, I would say, in the lead or at an advantage. It's very hard to tell who's in the lead in Worlds Collide until you get Kefka Tower requirements. Aura Lance there is the only thing I think of note for the Coliseum over on Nobody War's side. Looks like he's going to go for it anyway. I know we saw some Dragoon boots in a shop somewhere. I don't know if Nobody War saw them or picked them up or knew what the heck was going on there. But that's an easy fight, Aura Lance. Nothing else really in this Coliseum. We saw for Hefe, he had to dig real deep in the Coliseum in order to find something useful, and it was very, very useful for that Magimaster fight. I'd argue essential with the Rage Ring. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog digging in the Monster in a boxes because they did not go and get the offering that was available for saving Sid. Only Hefe has that. And unfortunately, only Hefe is the only one that doesn't have the Valiant Knife. So this is like two ships passing in the middle of the night. The other runners have the offering, and the other runners have the Valiant Knife, and Hefe has the offering. Meanwhile, Nobody War is also giving us some new stuff. This is the Velt check. So this is guaranteed to be either an Esper or an item. He needs to have his party in a party of 3 or less, and we need to give the dried meat and take off the Moogle charm, of course. So Nobody War, realizing that this is not a straight up fight, this is a back attack, so he cannot possibly get the reward in this formation, decides to run away. That's a Monty Python reference. I don't know how good my voice acting is. It's probably terrible. Yeah, Dancing Mad having different parts of the fight is really good. And there is Sabin, our musclehead, on the Velt. Not really what Nobody War was looking for, but Sabin does open up 5 different checks. He opens up Barren Falls, the Phantom Train, the Imperial Camp, Mount Cults, and the Collapsing House. So that gives him a lot more options now, as Sabin has his Vanilla Blitz. Interesting. And he decides, the heck with Yeti, we're putting him in. Meanwhile, 3rd dragon down for Jesus the Frog there in the Ancient Castle. And that's Realm, so that is yet another character. Realm opens up the Esper Mountain check in the World of Balance, where you recruit her, and Owzer's Mansion in the World of Ruin, where you recruit her. This is where already in the World of Ruin, maybe Jesus the Frog decides to go over to Jador for Owzer's Mansion. We could also stop by the auction house and potentially buy ourselves up to 2 Espers in the auction house. So we'll see if that's something that Jesus the Frog wants to do. The funny thing about Dancing Mad is if you are a musician, I play guitar, so I know a little bit about music theory and things like that. You could clearly see what the themes that they were going for in the music was for Dancing Mad. It's supposed to be sort of this like Dante's Inferno sort of thing, where each tier represents one of the parts of the, or rather, each of the tiers represent different parts of the Divine Comedy, with the first tier being, you know, the underworld or hell, the second tier being purgatory, the third tier being heaven, and then obviously there's Kefka at the top being the god, right? So it's really cool to see the theme play out visually and musically as well. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I'll stop nerding out about music theory. Because we've got a race to watch here, and Hefe is going to go up against his Haydn in the Haydn Knights fight. Unlike in the vanilla game, where you can just throw a Revivify or Phoenix down on this boss, the no undead property is on for this race. So we have to defeat it the good old-fashioned way with some Pearl and some Fire spells. Nobody War, meanwhile, heading through the Serpent Trench. This is Gao's other check, getting absolutely bodied there by a random counterattack on Celeste. So F's for Celeste in the chat. He has to fend off against anywhere from 3 to 5 random encounters in the Serpent Trench. And he'll get his reward at the end. Jesus the Frog, meanwhile, flying over to the Cave in the Velt. There is a monster in a box here that he can fight. However, we know that this is a dead check due to the imp on the ground. So this is not the answer for Jesus the Frog, who is now at 6 characters, rather 6 espers, 8 characters. For those of you just tuning in, our goals are the numbers in gold there. We have to recruit 5 characters, we have to obtain 9 espers, and we have to defeat 4 dragons in order to unlock the final boss of the game to go defeat it. Alright, so it looks like Nobody War is either also out of Phoenix Downs or doesn't care about Celeste's XP. Alright, this is the end of the check anyway here. So, Nobody War will be getting a reward. Jesus the Frog, seeing the imp sprite on the ground, says, "No, I do not need a high-tier item. I really want some more shiny stones, please." And that is yet another character for our runners with Mog the Moogle. Mog with sword tech, interestingly enough. So Mog opens up the Lone Wolf check and the Moogle defense check, where you have to save Terra from the evil baddies in the vanilla game. Jesus the Frog in Esper Mountain, which is a new information for us because he's one of the only runners that has Realm. It looks like, I think that was a character. I didn't see. Darn it. Alright, so that must have been a character there at Esper Mountain, because otherwise Jesus the Frog wouldn't have left. And AJS pointing out in the chat that it is Go-Go. Thank you, chat. You guys are the real MVPs out there for seeing what I can't. Nobody War is chasing waterfalls like TLC here. Jumping off at Barren Falls. This is one of Saban's checks. You do get a story heal before you go into this fight, and it is Tritalk. So Tritalk will nullify everything but fire. So, just like Beavis and Butthead, we have to burn it with fire. Fire, fire. Hefe, meanwhile, getting through his minecart ride, finding Narapa, the time waste of the boss that's usually at the end of the floating continent. Jesus the Frog taking his party down to 3 members, and he's doing the belt check now. This is one of Gao's checks. Yeah, I do like in Chrono Trigger how they do the laugh of Magus' theme, which is, I think, either the best or one of the best music tracks in all of video game history. But the Kefka laugh is just the best, I think, personally. We could agree or disagree, but I am right. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, so Jesus the Frog not getting the reward on the first try. This is a straight-up fight formation, so he can get it. There are less than 5 enemies on the screen, so there are certain restrictions on when you can and can't get the reward from the Velt here. So you cannot get the reward if there are 5 or more enemies on screen. I think there's only battle formations of 5 or 6. You can only get it in a straight-up fight, so that's not a pincer fight, not a back attack, not a side attack. And you have to have 3 or less people in your party, because there has to be an open slot for Gao to make it. Alright, bottom of Barren Falls. This is not a character, it is also not an Esper. It is a Ragnarok. Yuck. Alright, so we are how long? 1 hour and 7 minutes into the seed. I know that the requirements are a little bit higher than our standard 6-character 9 Esper 0 dragons, but at this point in the run, our runners are going to have to start feeling the pressure here. As that is character number 10, maybe, for Nobody War. I think that's 10, unless I can't count. I can't count, that's 9. Alright, Hefe, meanwhile, getting his 6th Esper there. And it looks like he's going to get a... did he get... I think he just got Edgar. So that's his 6th character. Nobody War getting his 9th Esper on the Figaro throne. And hey, would you look at that. Little high five action in Figaro between Nobody War and Hefe. That's the Odin Esper. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog is battling the Orange Jesus now for giving us our reward. And oh no, it's the White Dragon. We need to pray to the Orange Jesus that we get the reward soon. Meanwhile, this is a Phantom Train play for Nobody War, so we can actually take a look at what the reward is in the caboose before we decide to go through with this entire check. And if it's an Esper, then he's going to do it, because that is... Oh my god, it's an Aura Lance! There are a lot of dead checks in this seed, and I am sorry to the runners. Make sure you give them a follow for putting up with this terrible seed that I have rolled for them. Meanwhile, that is not an Esper that Jesus the Frog was looking for. After all that, it is only Sabin. Sabin is hungry, and he needs some jerky. Hefe, meanwhile, has only one dragon under his belt, so it looks like he's going to go do another one here at the Opera House. Nobody War is chasing around a shadowy figure over on Mount Kultz. Looks like Hefe is using that economizer on Celeste there. Shuffling around some Espers, because dragons will grant you 50 MP, so that basically will teach you almost any spell in the game that isn't at a ×1 rate. Meanwhile, Jesus the Frog heading into the collapsing house. We could see who or what is holding up the house, and it's an imp holding up the house. So therefore, we know that this is either an Esper or an item. 29,000 for the Genji glove item that the Zen Thief was selling. And Hefe hits the wrong switch. Who turned out the lights? Reminds me of like that scene in Spaceballs. I thought you turned off the TV. No, I turned the whole movie off. Meanwhile, it is a spicy chicken for Nobody War, so we have found, ladies and gentlemen, all of our statue bosses, plus all of our Kefka Tower bosses, Atma Guardian and Inferno, so far in this seed. We have also seen a Magimaster at Floating Continent. So we basically have seen all of the really bad bosses in this seed between all of our runners here. Question from the chat: if you don't check the reward in the caboose and you do the Phantom Train, does it just show up at the end? Yes. So if you want the reward right away throughout the check, you can get it in the caboose. It does, however, increase scaling if your scaling is based on progression or checks. So that's one caveat to keep in mind. But if you say no to it in the caboose, when you beat the boss at the end of the Phantom Train, you will get it. The Phantom Train also has one forced encounter in there. It does also have an optional monster in a box, and it has like 4 or 5 chests. I think it's 4 chests and 2 hidden items that you can get out of collapsing Phantom Train along the way. Yeah, there's only maybe 1 or 2 bad bosses left in the pool. We've seen Air Force, which I would hate to see late in the game. We've seen Haydn and the Haydnites, which is really not a fun fight. Who else have we seen that I don't really enjoy fighting? Besides the normal stuff. There's maybe 1 or 2 bosses that we don't like to see. Tritok we also don't have to fight in the tower. Tritok can be a problem for the wrong crew, because Tritok can only... There's another offering in a chest there for Hefe. So Hefe has 2 offerings and no Valiant Knives, and our other runners have Valiant Knives but no offerings. So this is the conundrum that we find ourselves in, as Jesus the Frog heads into the Imperial camp after getting a Esper from the collapsing house. And Nobody War, I believe that is his 9th Esper, so he just needs 1 more dragon to unlock Final Kefka. That is confirmation on his screen from the in-game tracker. So the Imperial camp is 4 forced encounters, but after the first one, we could see what the actual reward is. So let's hope we see an Imp Sprite or a Soldier Sprite. Otherwise, I think we found basically every single character in this seed. I think the only characters we don't know of where they are, let's see, we don't know Terra, we don't know Strago, and Setzer. I think those are the 3 characters we haven't seen all seed. We've seen everybody else. And it's Terra. Oh, man. You hate to see it. Jesus is going to go through with this check. I would have left. Oh, magic power +2 on that Shiva. So remember, folks, from our draft, that all of the Espers will have between 3 and 5 spells, and all of them have a bonus on them. Yes, I did roll this seed. So make sure you give our runners a follow before putting up with this seed. Alright, Nobody War looks like they pressed the correct switch for the Opera House Dragon. They're not turning off the lights. And they will be in go mode. Now, do they have 12 bosses? Yes, looking at their tracker, they have 12 unique bosses killed. So they will be able to go into Kefka's Tower at the switches and can skip out on some of the walking around. Hefe there does get the Kefka Tower skip complete message on screen. So that's his 12th boss there, along with his 8th Esper. So he is 1 Esper from go. Well, 1 Esper and 2 dragons from go. He will get the dragon, 3rd dragon in Ancient Castle if he decides to continue on that path. However, he will also get Realm down in the Ancient Castle. Realm leads to Go-Go at Esper Mountain, and we have not checked Owzer's Mansion yet, so we don't know what's at Owzer's Mansion. The only 2 characters that we haven't seen yet are Strago and Setzer. We've gotten all of the other characters in the seed. And I think Jesus has every one of them but Mog, because I think Nobody War is the only one that went through the Serpent Trench to get Mog. Alright, so that's Kefka Tower unlock complete for Nobody War with his 4th dragon there. Jesus the Frog getting character number 10 there with Terra. And how are we doing level-wise? 40, 40, 40, and 30. Which one of these is not like the others? Alright, so it looks like we're going into Kefka's Tower, so now I could officially say that Nobody War has our advantage here. Heading into Kefka's Tower first, so we're going to switch over to his audio. Yeah, don't follow me. This way I don't get to abuse our runners with these terrible, terrible seeds. For reference, Nobody War has done 24 checks. 4 of those are dragons, so he's done 20 non-dragon checks. Jesus the Frog is at 22, and Hefe is at 16. And this is the Ancient Castle Dragon here with an opening quake, so Locke is probably dead. Oh boy. Alright. Dragons got plus 10 levels added to them. So they're probably maxed out now. Meanwhile, Tritok fight down for Jesus the Frog. And I believe this is a Ragnarok at the bottom of Barren Falls here. So Jesus the Frog is not going to get an Esper from this check either. Rather unfortunate. Alright, first boss of Kefka's Tower is a big beefy boy who skipped leg day every day in Fun Baba. Absorbs lightning and is weak to poison. I believe that the Dirt Dragon is susceptible to slow, but I don't remember. Let's find out. As Locke gets put down again. Let's see. Yep, he's susceptible to slow. And seizure. No, not seizure. What is psyche? Sleep. Why do they call it psyche? Dumb. So he's susceptible to slow and sleep. So if you have one of those, or if you have Sour Mouth, you could use that on the Dirt Dragon to sort of slow him down. Meanwhile, there goes Funbaba, and there is Strago! Oh no! It's a travesty. It's a catastrophe. It is a disaster. Jesus the Frog gonna get character number 11, so all we need is Setzer. Actually, Jesus also doesn't have Go-Go, right? Because Go-Go's in Esper Mountain, and Jesus did not opt for Go-Go. Dragon number 3, character number 7 for Hefe there, as Nobody War has one of 4 bosses down for Kefka's Tower. Jesus deciding to pick up that economizer behind his 11th character now with Strago. So Strago, I keep forgetting to talk about the checks that these characters open up. So Terra has that lock, or that Welk spot, also the Cave to the Sealed Gate, Zozo Tower, Elite River, and the Mobliz check in World of Ruin. Strago has Ebbett's Rock, Fanatic's Tower, and Burning House. I guess Fanatic's Tower is interesting here because we need one more dragon still, and we could peek it at the bottom to see if it's a Esper, and that's exactly what Jesus the Frog is doing. I like his thinking. Meanwhile, it's SR Behemoth over on the right-hand side of the screen. That is an imp at the bottom. So this is an Esper, so Jesus the Frog is going to take care of his dragon and going to get his 8th Esper. So chat, help me out. What do we think SR in SR Behemoth stands for? Is it Sir? Is it Senor? Is it Sriracha? Is it Scrontium? Is it Super? Is it Sarsaparilla? That's not a word. Senior Behemoth? Like Junior Behemoth? I'm pretty sure it's Super Behemoth, because there's a GT Behemoth for Great Behemoth, and a regular Behemoth, so I always assumed it was Super Behemoth. And here's the Gold Dragon, who is weak to Berserk, so I know Jesus was looking at that before. Hefe says go-go and says no thank you, and there you go. Jesus the Frog knows that the Gold Dragon here in Fanatic's Tower is susceptible to Berserk. Superior Behemoth, like the Great Lake. Sour Behemoth, Serrated Behemoth, Sriracha Behemoth. Delicious to put on those tacos. Alright, Hefe heading to the Veld. And we'll be disappointed to find Sabin. Yeah, so Ribbit Finder pointing out that that is a dinosaur, not a dragon. So, what I've been told, and this may be completely wrong, so feel free to shoot me down, is in the Japanese translation of this game, they use the kanji for, like, Great Beast, which can either be a dragon or a dinosaur. Which is why you sometimes see dinosaurs as dragons, but you don't see dragons as dinosaurs. Right? I think that's where it comes from. And I know that the translator for this game, Ted Woolsey, gets some flack for his inserting pop culture references into the game. I personally love it. Things like the Dream Stooges would not be the same without, you know, Larry, Curly, and Moe. But I think that's where that comes from, is that in Japanese, the word that they chose to use is dragon or great beast or dinosaur. Because there are a bunch of dinosaurs in this game, too. And, oh, Hefe, the disrespect towards Sabin. No! Why you do him like that, dog? Let's pour one out for Sabin in the chat. I think Biggs and Wedge, aren't they, isn't that like a Star Wars reference? I'm not quite sure. And here's a boss I didn't want to see in Kefka's Tower, is the tentacles on Nobody War's screen. Because this boss will, aka the Grabby Pasta, will basically scoop you up and just cost you a lot of time. The lower right tentacle is weak to ice, so good heads-up gameplay knowledge there from Nobody War knowing that, to use that to his advantage. Yeah, this fight is basically just a time waste. Because the tentacles with their 60 or 70 damage per poison grab isn't really going to kill you, but when they grab your characters, they literally just take them out of the fight for a prolonged period of time. Meanwhile, it is Dullahan on Jesus the Frog's screen. Not only is this boss not undead, but it's also floating, in spite of the fact that it's a chariot. Go figure. So if you ever want to use a weapon like the Hawkeye or the Sniper, it counts as a floating target. If you ever want to use a spell like Quake, it won't work, because this counts as a floating target. Hefe getting the bad news that it's just an imp at the Velt Cave, and he's going, huh, where the heck is my last Esper? Because he's been stuck on 8 for a bit now. Alright, looks like we're getting a... we're getting a South Figaro Cave play here. And this... was this Cyan? No, where is Cyan? This might be Cyan. Let's see. Does Hefe already have Cyan? No, he doesn't. I'm pretty sure this is Cyan here. Nobody War finally getting past the tentacle fight. Like I said, that fight just stinks. It just takes forever. It's no fun. And the last boss of the game, Choo Choo the Ghost Train. Oh, you better do it, Nobody War. You better deliver what the people want. Come on. You have Blitz. No, don't do it. Don't do it. No, miss. Miss this Doom spell. For the love of God, Nobody War. No! No! He does not give us the train suplex. Go ahead and unfollow Nobody War if you followed him. He's automatically lost the race. I'm totally kidding. Make sure you give him a follow. Because although he did have the opportunity to suplex that train, he did instant kill it, which is okay, it's not as good, I know. I know it's not as good, chat, but sometimes we don't get the opportunity to suplex the train. We don't always have Blitz when we see the Ghost Train. That was a golden opportunity. Run invalidated. He's no longer in the lead. We're certainly going to give him some flack about that during the interview later on. And I hope he's ready for it. All right, and with that, we do have another Esper at the bottom of Kefka's, or Fanatic's Tower, rather, for Jesus the Frog. That is his 9th Esper, so he is in go mode. Meanwhile, Nobody War here is... oh, I'm sorry, he's not in go mode. He is at 8 Espers. Nope, not him. Him. 8 Espers. Sorry, I lost track of tracking. Meanwhile, Nobody War into the final Kefka fight. So, Normalize and Distort makes the final Kefka fight a bit unpredictable, let's just say. because some of the things that we're always used to about this fight, having it be unscaled, won't be the same thing. As Jesus the Frog asks the little girl about Torado, and he's going to take Torado away from you. I'm sorry, little girl. He's been looking for these 9 espers for so long. Just give him this one little thing, okay? So Nobody War was able to instant death the long arm, and he's going to go ahead here and cast Fenrir because multi-summon is on. So this will give him the image status, and since tier 1 is all physical attacks, this will allow him to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge the physical attacks from tier 1 if he still has the image status on. That is Dragon number 4 for Hefe. Unfortunately, there is no Esper here at the end of Mount Zozo. It is just a item. So he's going to be disappointed once again. Looks like I think we only have the balled up fist left. That fist is actually weak to water, but I don't think we have any Bismarck or water spells here. The head is weak to fire, and we want to make sure we kill that before we kill the balled up fist and the long arm. We don't want to leave it to the end because it will cast Quake if it's the last thing alive as its death counter. Jesus the Frog gets 2 of his party members blown away here by the fake Funbaba, and then has to go against my favorite thrash band of Final Fantasy, Risopus and the Piranhas. Nobody War up to tier 2. Tier 2 has 4 different parts. We do have access to instant death, so that will take care of one of the parts tools. Do we have mute? Yes, we do. So we have mute there. Mute will take care of magic. So magic hilariously only casts magic spells, as the name implies, but is susceptible to being muted, which means you can't cast magic. So that means one of the parts of this boss is effectively ineffective. That is an interesting way to put it. Can't really do anything. Meanwhile, we doom the second part, and all of a sudden this 4-part fight is now a 2-part fight, essentially, with the tiger being weak to ice and the purple guy being weak to stop, although he doesn't really attack all that much anyway, and will death counter with 10 physical attacks. Meanwhile, Hefe, in his favorite check of all time, the auction house, he basically is going to get his last Esper here in the auction house, thankfully. He is a very, very lucky person that he found that Siren Esper. So if he didn't find the Esper that taught Mute, he will at least be able to cast Siren in the final battle against Kefka. For some reason, I think it has the Magicite screwed up on my end. So let me just double click on these things on the tracker to make sure it's right. As Jesus the Frog is going to get his 9th Esper here after defeating Risopus. By the way, if you're interested in this game at all, playing, running, or just hanging out in the Discord with other people that enjoy Final Fantasy VI, ff6worldscollide.com is the website. There is a link to our Discord there, and we are pretty friendly, as both of our other runners, Hefe and Jesus, get go mode within minutes of one another. Well, I say minutes, within seconds of one another, and both of them have enough bosses defeated in order to skip to the statues. So Nobody War in the clear lead for first in this race. However, our second place definitely has a race right now, as both are basically entering Kefka's Tower at essentially the same time. Also, not that I wish this upon him, but one wipe from Kefka will basically blow this race wide open, because this final fight is usually about 7 or 8 minutes, and I completely forgot to ask the chat how long you think this final fight would take, and normally I ask that and put predictions in the chat and all that other fun stuff. But I completely forgot as I was getting distracted on the other side by some cats. Shout out to you cat owners out there, know what I'm talking about. Those are the death counters for magic, by the way. A couple of dispels with an optional quarter. And Nobody War is moving on to tier 3 of Kefka. So we were sort of talking about music before, right? The music for the second tier has sort of this waltz type movement, which indicates like uneasiness, which is where you would find purgatory, right? Because your soul is not at rest; it's trapped between the two normal, quote unquote, normal parts of death. Here with the final tier, you'll notice that the music changes to be in sort of a style that fits more religious themes of like an organ playing at like a mass. And then you hear through part of the song, there's a bass line that comes in, and it's actually Kefka's theme cutting through the bass line. So this to me symbolizes the godliness of heaven with Kefka tinging this concept. It's coming up after this little interlude. You'll hear it, and I'll shut up so you can hear it now. So yeah, if you listen close enough, you could hear Kefka's theme shining through. Anyway, tier 3 of this fight, Girl is the one we want to take out first, because Girl will both revive and bring the other part back to life. With Normalize and Distort on, this can get very scary, because that increases Girl's health, and it also increases the amount of damage that Sleep can do. Sleep will death counter with up to 2 instances of an instant death physical called Calmness, which is why we want to have either Golem or Fenrir cast, and it looks like Nobody War is going to be doing that now with both Golem and Fenrir just in case. That will protect him against Calmness, and he will be able to go up against the final fight. However, this is the counter when Sleep is under 10,000 HP, will counter with Meteo, and has a... Oof! There's a second Meteo. It did 2,400 damage to Shadow, and it did 27 to Sabin. So we'll see if Nobody War decides to get his 2 characters up here, or if he decides to just power through and try and kill this boss. Because this boss will will counter with Meteo, and will also take its turn and use Meteo. So the 2 Meteos in a row tell me that that is the turn of Sleep. Edgar using the Phoenix Downs. Celeste will be able to get a turn off here in order to cure his party, but he's going to take Sleep, rather, is going to take another turn, and that'll maybe another Meteo. So we have to be careful here in order to do enough damage to kill him during this time period. Meanwhile, we have the Tentacles fight for Hefe. I think he defeated his first boss, and this is his second one here. Tentacles fight for Jesus the Frog, so we have dueling grabby pasta battles here on the left side of the screen. Nobody War surviving the 2 instances of Calmness, very nicely done, and is going to head up to final Kefka right now. So here comes Kefka, and Kefka has 60,000 HP. He will cast Fallen 1 on his first turn unless he's damaged more than 30,000 HP. If he does get damaged to under 30,000 HP, he'll start countering with Hyperdrive and Havoc Wing. If he gets under 10,000 HP, he may counter with Ultima. However, when he charges for his quote-unquote ultimate attack at Goner, that is when he will not counterattack. So that's the time when our runners will hit him with everything he's got. And it looks like Nobody War is going to abuse Quick, which will allow him to take 2 turns immediately. It basically pauses the enemy ATB and allows you to take 2 turns in a row. So I'm guessing this will get him past the 30,000 damage threshold to not die, or rather to not get hit with Fallen 1, which basically means your party's HP is set to 1. So unless we were Hefe that got past Magimaster, we do not have a Mega Elixir to heal up our party like that. Kefka also has some physical evade, so you saw Edgar miss with his first attack there. It's not something that usually happens, but it definitely does happen sometimes. Meanwhile, Hefe getting past the tentacle fight, And Jesus the Frog only has one party member alive here. Knows that the bottom left tentacle is weak to fire, so that's why he's casting fire. But as you see, this is just a waste of time. Oh, the ghost train fights back! Hefe gets hit with a wheel. See, nobody war, that's what happens when you don't suplex the train. Oh, 4,500 damage on that hyperdrive, by the way. Yay, normalized distort stats. Alright, so nobody war has to be very careful here. Clearly, Kefka is in counterattack mode, right? So he could wait until Kefka gets to the Fallen One phase, but he's going to use Quick in order to not get counterattacked after this particular attack, which thankfully was a flare proc, doing 10,000 damage between the sword swipe and the proc, and he is going to bank on no counterattack here, but oh no. He actually whiffed on the second turn. Here comes the charge up for Goner, and since there's no counterattacks during this turn, I think he's got this. There it is, the crack pow. That is when time is over. 1:39:42 is the time for Nobody War in first place. Get your GGs in the chat for him. Meanwhile, Hefe getting knocked around a little bit by the Ghost Train. We'll see if we can get Nobody War in the chat, but make sure you tell him GG on his own chat there. There is the link. And it looks like Hefe is healing his character and going to try the Odin Esper for the instant death, slicing up the Ghost Train. See you later. Thank you very much for playing. It's been fun. So even though Ghost Train Ghost Train in particular is not considered undead with this particular flag set, however, he is susceptible to instant death, which means Odin, Raiden, or Doom or X-Zone. Speaking of Ghost Train, we have Nobody War with us. Nobody War, GG's. Although you are first place on the official race, you have been disqualified in our hearts for not suplexing the train.
Nobody has time for that.
Instant death is a hell of a lot faster than suplexing the train. So tell us your thoughts on this particular flag set that we had here. We had some pretty strong, beefy bosses, beefy dragons, but also some beefy characters. What was your sort of approach here to this scene?
I think with normalizing distort on, I just wanted to get a lot of levels way before I did anything. And kind of what worked out with the shield being so low and the grind fights that I took that were nice. It just spiraled into...
Yeah, you did take off
when
the
I finally went to go check it out. It just ended up being really good. All the close out Figaros were stacked. There was just a lot of good stuff everywhere.
Jesus the Frog, unfortunately having to take a reset there at the Tentacles fight. I think you had your Tentacles fight handled pretty well compared to everybody else. Anyway, yeah, so you took off the Moogle Charm. You did do a bunch of free checks. I mean, with our starting party having Shadow and Locke and was Celeste one of our starting characters?
Yeah, it was
I believe so. So that's 3 free checks right there. And then we ended up getting 2 more characters after that. And you're like, all right, I'm good for a while. I don't need any more free checks. Please stop. But you did gain a lot of levels early on, and you were just basically looking for Espers for a while. Did the fact that we had to defeat 4 dragons sort of draw you to certain checks over others? I noticed you went into the Phoenix Cave and some other things like that.
Yeah,
Did that affect your routing a bit?
Yeah, definitely from the beginning, knowing I picked Locke, and then the dragons requirements got chosen. It was, I was definitely going there. Just turned it into one of those things. When I found Edgar early, it was my continued dislike and refusal to do any of those checks, except maybe peeking the throne.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no dragon down there. I knew I had to run at least up to Narish. It was nice when I found the Yeti. I was definitely going to go up there. I was going to run up to Narish for that dragon either way. So yeah, played out good.
Nice. Yeah, well, you missed out on Realm down in the ancient castle. I think there was an Esper in the engine room, but yeah, the Espers were something that were getting pretty hard to come by. So when we got all these characters front loaded, did that also change your strategy of where you went to go look for checks? I noticed you avoided the floating continent, but you did go to Cyan's Dream, which did give you 3 Espers.
Yeah, as soon as I found Cyan, I knew I was going to do the dream. I got confused that the old bot flags, and there was no MTech upgrade attached to MTech 3.
That is correct, yep.
Yeah, I totally spaced out on it, and Edgar ended up swinging away at the end. So I knew he was going to do something else when I was like, oh crap, that wasn't the thing. So I was looking for
we found a Ragnarok at the bottom of
the knife for the Yeti. That was clutch. He carried most of the seed. He really did.
Yeah, we did find the not the Valiant Knife, the Ragnarok at the bottom of Barren Falls, so that helped. You did find a Valiant Knife for sale, I believe? Or did you find it? Okay. Unfortunately, you did not do the Save Sid objective, which was a offering in this flag.
Ooh.
So, yeah, that would have been real spicy.
I totally forgot. Man, I spaced on that one. I should have done that.
Yeah. So, Hefe for a long time did not have the Valiant Knives, but did have the offering. And you and Jesus did not have the... Yeah. So yeah, with having to defeat these pretty powerful dragons, you knew you were going to get some pretty big levels, but then you had a little bit of trouble on tier 3, that double Meteo for like 2,800 apiece on 2 of your characters.
Yeah, I just abused quick then after that, because I remembered multi-summon was on too, like on tier 1, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting a little worried.
Okay. No matter what, it was going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, I was also getting a little worried at Kafka when he was throwing out 4,700 damage hyperdrives, and I was like, "Oh, don't touch the don't touch the gold there. Be careful, because you looked like you were going to keep going. Because I was wondering if you were going to wait for Goner or if you were just going to go, but it seems like you were just going to go.
The first one took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, so I was judging, but I thought I had it.
So going into the draft, were there certain, or at least in this flag set, were there certain flags that you were more drawn to, and certain ones you're like, God, I wish that this was not selected?
No, nothing was really bad in this one. It was, you just had to figure out how to route what these flags were, especially with the 4 dragons and their requirements. 12 bosses for a skip. The 12 bosses for the skip is the key one that I kind of like. Once I took the first 2 boss fights, I planned out where I'm gonna go for the rest. It was nice at the end. It worked out with like totally with like 8, 9, and 9 and 10, and then the last 2 were easy.
Yeah, unfortunately, we found every character but Setzer, basically, between all of the runners. You were the only one that found Mog. There was a Go-Go sighting at Esper Mountain that nobody wanted. Wow. Strago was at Welk. Terra was... Where the heck was Terra? Imperial Camp. We just did not spot a Setzer. So, with how many checks we had to do in order to get Espers, I think the 12 bosses was pretty trivial in this seed, just the way it played out. I'm sorry in advance, or I'm sorry, for rolling this pretty bad seed. It could have been a lot worse, though. Had Hefe not selected empowered characters and we got chaotic instead,
that could have been crazy.
This would have been really rough.
Could have been real bad. It could have been in the teens instead of in the 30s and 40s.
and having to deal with normalizing.
We would have been like level
right?
60 by the time we got to the end for it to like actually work.
Yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, Jesus the Frog not having our Blitz user to suplex the train. So, like I said, our only suplexing opportunity was taken away from us. So sorry, Nobody War. You are officially GQ. Shame on you.
Next time, you know, I was disappointed. I took the Opera Dragon fight, and old boy was only level 38. If I would have paid attention, I would have sent him in there solo. He probably would have gained it. He would have been 41, and I might have like trolled myself and took a few fights just to get it to go in.
Rush. Yeah.
But it wasn't. You know, I felt I don't know. I felt behind.
well, it's funny because you put him in your party very late. Like your levels are 45, 45, 44, and then
Mara was the boss. Like, what are you gonna do with him and a Valiant Knife? But just sit back. He was my one person that I needed to swing a weapon. Just use the fight command.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I didn't have to push a button.
The problem is all the times he would use Body Slam instead, right? That
True.
That was the downfall. And the Ghost Train fights back. See, since you didn't suplex the Ghost Train, he's been running havoc on Hefe and Jesus. We've had multiple combined deaths from Ghost Train. There was something else I wanted to ask you about. Oh, the bosses. Were you very relieved, or were you worried that you found difficult bosses pretty early?
I think
because we saw every single Kefka Tower bosses,
and I found a force shield, and I hadn't equipped anybody yet, and I took a check, and it was a dead check, and it was a force shield, and then I went to South Figaro and I bought 6 earrings. And one of the first espers I bought or found somewhere was Shiva, and it had Ice 3 on it, and Cure 2 or whatever, that good one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're set for the rest of the seed. Everybody just needs to pass that around, and it's over.
And then, of course, you run into Doom at the South Figaro Cave. And can't do that. Yeah, so we found basically all of our Kefka Tower bosses.
That Bolt carried a lot of those grind fights.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're still watching Hefe here. This is the real test with Normalize and Distort is tier 3. And he's got Shadow with decent HP, but the rest of his party is looking a little sus now. See how bad this Merton
Not too bad. It's maybe like...
Oh, God.
Yeah,
3,000 per Merton is a bit of a yikes. So yeah, any other final thoughts on either this flag set or the race in general before we get you out of here?
No, I had a good time. Thanks for doing this, Sean. Drafts are always fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for volunteering to. Yeah, for sure. It's a different race every single time. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Worlds Collide is you could literally make this game your own, and you can make it a different experience every single time you play. Hefe is proc Medio. This is not going to end well. So, will he heal the boss to get out of this? So one of the things you can do is heal the boss above the 10,000 HP threshold so he stops doing Medio. No, he's just going to go.
A lock swinging. Yeah, quick. He might be fine.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's over.
Nice. Nice strategy there from Hefe. Let your damage dealer doing 16,000 a turn in, and it looks like Jesus the Frog.
No doubt.
Yeah, that Ghost Train. I'm telling you should have suplexed that train, put him in its place.
Man.
So unfortunately, since Jesus burned his Kefka Tower skip, he has to go in the normal way now. And he has to remember what party he has to bring against that side. But
is that the only side he has left?
No, he's got to beat Inferno.
The
Inferno spot, right? Because
man, it's tough.
Yeah, you got to beat the Inferno spot in order to get through the tower.
He did the skip in though, right? He only had the train boss left.
Right, which is in the middle, I think.
Was it the middle? Yeah.
It was either the middle or the left. I don't remember which one.
It might have been Poltergeist slide, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we got Fixed Ice Offering and Fixed Ice Valiant Knife for Hefe.
Yeah. He's got any kind of...
this
he got quick. This is over.
I don't think he has quick, but I don't think it matters. Doing 16,000 a turn.
Shield. He cracks some shields, yeah.
We did find a bunch of shields. You also did steal a couple shields, too, from Inferno.
Yeah.
That was nice to see. Yeah, so it looks like Jesus realized that he needs party 3 and not party 2. So, we're having a party. And that is it for Hefe. Get your GGs in chat, as he is our second runner to finish here. 1:53.51 is his official time. So go to his chat and tell him I said GG. Yeah, so as we wrap up this race here with Jesus the Frog, unfortunately his audio is not usable, so you're going to hear just some regular default Final Fantasy music. We were having a very intricate conversation about music theory in the chat and in this game. What is your favorite Final Fantasy VI track?
Shadows.
You like Shadow?
Nipples.
Yeah, Shadows is real good too. But yeah, as always, thank you for volunteering to run. Cannot have the races without the runners, so really appreciate you volunteering and sticking around to answer all of our burning questions. Hope you enjoyed the draft. It's fun because it's a different race every single time, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Hefe unfortunately will not be able to join us for an interview, and he says he wouldn't be nice anyway. I am so sorry, Hefe, for rolling this disaster of a seed. You could put the blame on me, and you could also put part of the blame on the fun choices that we made. You've got nobody to blame but yourselves, runners. No, I'm just kidding. I think that... I mean, here's the weird thing, right? Had we not run into so many dead checks, we wouldn't have been at high enough levels to even bother getting through some of the parts of Final Kefka there at the end. And it looks like the runner skipped out on Rexol at the Inferno spot. So this is another one of these bosses that I don't really love to see in Kefka's Tower because it's quite annoying. But at least it's not Zinger Rexol where he inhabits your body. That would be just unbearable to do in KT. Gets through it though, and then he'll eventually get through his Ghost Train spot. Does not have Sabin in the party for the suplex, so Jesus the Frog also missing an opportunity for a meme here, but I completely understand. I wonder if you do it just for the memes, or you're just like, you know what? I know that yeah, there's Sabin there. It looks like he had too many Moogle Charms on that one party. We do give our runners 3 for this reason, so they could walk around in Kefka's Tower and not have to worry about it at all. So are you looking forward to Season 5 of Ultros League, Nobody War?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, so that will be coming at the end of the month. I think October the 28th is the official date. Yes, that's the Sunday, right? So that is the Sunday. I probably should sign up. I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah, I think I just did this past weekend. I had forgotten about it since the announcement, but I definitely did it.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that open now to make sure that I do that. Ultros League is sort of our competitive-ish league where we essentially have the same flag set, season upon season. There are some subtle differences, but it's mostly the same from season to season. And we get classified into different divisions based on how we finish. So it's very similar to European soccer, or combined with like a Mario Kart style for points, where first place gets a certain number of points, second place gets a little bit less, and so on and so on. And then the top 2 runners in the division will move up. The bottom 2 or 3, depending upon how many runners we have, will get demoted down to the division underneath it. I have been stuck in Elixir now for 4 seasons, or this will be my 5th season in Elixir. So Mega Elixir is the top, then Elixir, then Potion, then Tonic. So if you are even like somewhat new to Worlds Collide and you're thinking about like, yeah, I don't know if I'd be good at racing or whatever, Ultras League aims to put you with runners that are around your skill set. Hence why I've been in Elixir for for 5 seasons. So if you're newer, it's a great way to learn the game and to also learn how to get better, because you and 6 or 7 other runners will be running the same seed each week, and you can talk about your strategies and how you approach problems, and you'll get to watch other runners play the same exact game that you did, because oftentimes it's hard to compare yourself, right? Because you're like, I don't really know if this is fast or not. It's hard to tell without participating in actual races, and that requires not being antisocial, which is not high on my priority list. So it's a great way to sort of not only meet people that are also interested in the same things that you are in terms of this game, but to kind of measure yourself up and to make some friends and some mentors along the way. I know that I have certainly watched other people that are in my same division try and wrestle with the same seeds that I'm wrestling with in order to figure out what the heck to do. Wow, that is a lot of HP on Locke. Oh, here we go. Shadow with that Pearl proc on that Pearl Lance. There we go. That's nice. So Ghost Train, wow. Is that 518 damage? Holy cow. So Ghost Train must have gotten a really big buff to their magic defense. That is insane. I've never seen that happen before. Either that or Shadow's magic power is just really bad, but I don't think that's the case. Alright, so it looks like Jesus' party is Edgar, Ragnarok, Locke, Valiant Knife. I don't know what the heck Celeste is doing. I'm guessing magic, and I don't really know what Shadow's doing either.
Looks like they have Magus rods.
Yeah, I mean, you were not usually attacking with the Magus rod. Yeah, Valiant Knife offering for Locke.
That should do it.
That's insane. He's got 6,000 HP, and he's still doing 4K a swing. That's nuts. Imagine if he had even 3,000 HP is a lot. Imagine if he had half of that HP, he'd be doing like close to max damage. So in Worlds Collide, we still cap the damage at 4 nines per, and not even per turn, but per action. So with the offering, you get to X-Fight. So you get to use the fight command essentially 4 times at half damage. But with a Valiant Knife, it has certain other calculations that it does for how much HP you're missing. And that's why it does stupid amounts of damage like that. So with his levels that high, it looks like he's in the 50s. This final Kefka fight's not going to be a problem here. And you were lucky enough, I think, to have all the tools, right? You had Fenrir and Golem and Mute and Instant Death.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't time how long your final Kefka fight was, but it was pretty fast.
It felt like it, yeah. I knew I had everything. And then on tier 1, when I realized multi-summon was on,
yeah,
it was gonna
quick. The only reason why it was a little bit slower, I think, was because of your usage of the quick spell, right? So quick is, in spite of its name, is not actually all that quick.
No. I tried to abuse it like in the situations when I needed it, especially like on tier 3 when I had to bring people back.
Yeah. Well, because not only does it give you 2 turns, it also pauses the enemy ATB. And after the first turn, it doesn't let them do any counterattacks. So that's why when you... I don't know if you got lucky or just...
No, I was able to queue up that Cure 3 before I casted both of the
the
Phoenix
life
Downs
spells
on them
yeah.
that one time. Yeah.
No, I was referring to with Final Kefka. You casted quick on Edgar. He got a sword swing plus a flare proc for his first
And then
turn.
he missed on the second
and then
swing,
he missed
right?
the second swing. If he would have hit the second swing, that might have been an ultimate counter.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Or it might have been another hyperdrive or havoc wing counter, right?
Yeah, it would have been a definite counter.
So that's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That missed swing could have saved your bacon there.
Edgar really is bad.
So we do have some fire magic here for Jesus the Frog. So he is able to, whittle away at this head. And it looks like we got a capture offering. So for those that don't know, you could steal elixirs from every single part of the first 2 tiers of Final Kefka. So we're going for some elixirs. Unlike Hefe, who found a Magi Master at Floating Continent 2, I don't think he has a Mega Elixir here. So, good heads-up play to steal some elixirs to give yourself at least a fighting chance if Fallen One happens. So yeah, Hefe's fight against Magi Master was a thing of legend. He had Yeti as the only party member alive. Yeti had the Snow Muffler and the Rage Ring. So he nullified lightning, absorbed fire, and absorbed ice. So he was almost unkillable, except for Magi Master casted poison on him. So it was basically a race against, can Yeti eat enough poison damage and then get healed by whatever spells Magi Master throws out, and then do enough body slams to actually kill him. It was absolutely ridiculous. We need to go back and watch that and frame that for posterity, I think. Because everybody else is dead. And then he had to fend off the cranes at the end of the Floating Continent after using all of his Phoenix Downs in the Magi Master fight. So he had 1 Phoenix Down that he used on Celeste. And during one of the grind fights beforehand, he ran into one of those enemies that throws stuff at you. I think it was Shadow Dancers or Slam Dancers or whatever.
One of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how Yeti died. Yeti got hit with a mithril knife.
Man.
So it was solo Celeste. Solo
Stuff.
Celeste against the cranes, and he managed to pull it out. It was one of the best floating... Well, not best. It was one of the most persevering floating continents I've ever seen. It was truly a work of art. And by art, I mean cojones.
For sure.
All right, so now we're on to Tier 2. We do have access to Mute. And we've got some instant death here in the form of Esper Summons, so this should hopefully get rid of tools. And there it goes. Yeah, having access to Mute against Magic is so helpful. Because Magic he takes so long with his turns.
It basically defeats this tier. As long as you have some kind of big DPS, you can gun down 2 targets fairly quick.
There it is. There's Mute. Please use it. There you go.
Yeah. Edgar's got some pretty good looking swings there.
Yeah. I mean, his party is level 50 something, right? So this fight's not going to last very long.
Yeah.
Especially with Locke swinging for almost 10,000, more than almost 11,000 a turn. Okay, more like 10, but still.
You should take his shield off and hit him with a couple fireballs and get him a little bit lower.
Yeah, yeah. Hitting your own party is only advised with the Valiant Knife. Was that your fight where one of your characters got confused and just started killing everything when you fought Goddess?
No, well, I had a fight. It was number 24 hit Shadow with Overflow.
That's what it was.
But I was able to kill him before Shadow got a turn off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was a couple of dicey fights from some of our runners between that and...
there was 10 hits.
Yeah, there was someone else that got... Problem. I want to say maybe it was Hefe that got zombied from Goddess, and it became.
I was worried in the
problem.
hide and fight. It was just, I knew it was just going to take a long time, and I was trying to instant death the one, and it wasn't working, and I'm like, oh, just focus fire. Guardian with that. Was there a Guardian in this run?
Yes.
Yeah. It went down quick. It was pretty early, though, right?
Yeah, because you found the Thunder Shield, and you learned Bolt 2 on, I think, most of your characters, and you had...
Celestin Shadow, yeah.
You had number 24, then you had Guardian, and you had some other Air Force, I think.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, exactly. 3 in a row that were all weak to it.
Yeah. So that definitely helped you out early game, as there are the death counters from Magic, so we're up to tier 3 here for Jesus. What the heck was I going to say? Yeah, so that certainly helped. We did see all of the Kefka Tower bosses in this seed. There was Atma was at Floating Continent. Was it you that ran into Poltergeist at Mount Cults?
Goddess was at the Yeti spot.
Oh, Goddess was at the Yeti spot. Then what the heck was that? Maybe that was
Spicy
Guardian.
Chicken was somewhere. Where was it?
Mount Cults.
Yeah.
And
You're
then right. Guardian was at... Then it must have been Guardian at South Figaro Cave. Inferno was also somewhere you guys fought. Doom was at Opera House. So I don't think
that
you
went
to bad
early.
House.
I'm glad I didn't grind there.
Yeah, so Jesus and Hefe both got that. Jesus found that first.
Oh, that sucks so early.
Yeah, he had 2 of his 3 party members frozen. It was a bit of a mess. It just took a while. And the fights up there were Enoch Fortis too, which also was terrible. So we saw all of the statue bosses. We saw all of the bosses inside of Kefka's Tower. Magi Master was at Floating Continent too. We saw Air Force, we saw Haydn, we saw the tentacles in Kefka's Tower, which is what I didn't want to see. The only thing we haven't found that is really nasty is Doomgaze. And here comes the Meteo. Hopefully we can dodge this. Oh, the quad dodge.
That was a perfect miss.
And then Locke is just going to punch through this here.
Yep.
And the golem is up, so now we got all 4 of our characters onto our final Kefka fight. This should be pretty easy. That, I think, tier 3 with Normalize and Distort is the hardest. Although 4,700 damage hyperdrives is pretty bad too. I mean, normally a hyperdrive is a one-hit kill, but it definitely is with Normalize and Distort. Alright, so let's see how Jesus the Frog deals with Kefka. So he got hit with Train, which our other 2 runners did not get hit with. So I know that there is an evade bug in the base Final Fantasy VI. We fixed that for the randomizer. So the dark status actually matters. And I know that we're using some magic on a couple of our other characters, so we're going to need some echo screens. I wonder if he's just gonna go. So if you do more than 30,000 damage in this first turn, you won't get Fallen One. And with the shield throws and lock and okay, I guess we do get Fallen One. You did uncurse the shield, is that right?
Yeah, it was the first thing I did before I pretty much did any check.
Because it was 7. It was a pretty low number. Oh, there's the Mega Elixir Steel, but Locke is going to do 40,000 damage this turn. I think this is going to be it.
Wow.
Yeah. Quad 9s. 4 turns in a row. Get your GGs in chat for Jesus the Frog. 2:12:34 is your final time. And we're joined in the booth by Mr. Froggo himself. GG's, congrats on getting through that seed. And you could thank Nobody War for not suplexing the ghost train. That is why he was unhappy with you.
Right. I don't remember the inputs for suplex. I never really use it.
That's okay, because even if you have the chance, nobody war will not use it anyway. But yeah, so talk us through a little bit. This was your first time drafting, am I correct?
Yeah.
So what did you think of the draft process? And obviously, the seed I rolled was terrible, but what did you think of having to, take a look at the flag set and figure out what to do based on what we saw?
Well, it was good. The draft process was easy and straightforward. Getting 4 choices is always going to be something that's going to be interesting. I wanted to make it a little bit unusual if I could. The seed was not that bad, except there were no espers anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It was dead checks or characters. I think you at least saw 12 of the 14 characters.
Yeah.
Nobody War found Mog at the end of the Serpent Trench. So that was 13 of our 14 characters. So we're going to have to find Setzer somewhere. That's the only one we didn't find.
So you're saying if I had done the Velt as I did, or my other option there, Serpent Trench, they were both characters.
That is correct, yes. So there are a lot of characters, a lot of dead checks. So you got to level, what, 50 something by the end?
Yeah, it was like
pretty
52
ridiculous.
on most people by the end of it there.
Yeah, with a basically a one shot of Final Kefka at the end after Fallen One, which is always nice to see. 40,000 damage in one turn.
Well, I saw that Valiant Knife on sale in Zen, and I was thinking, well,
Yep.
I have luck. He's not really very useful. I can at least give him that, and maybe I'll find an offering one day. And it was just in a box in the cave for tunnel armor, just right there.
Yeah. So the high tier item from Saving Sid was also an offering. So we saw that from Hefe. But you found it in a box, and Nobody War is going, hey, I wish I had an offering, man.
Yeah. I gotta say,
I had a Yeti.
I considered
That's good
keeping
enough.
Yeti. I thought about keeping him, but I was like, I don't know. Seems a bit risky. And everyone's got fantastic stats. I usually like to keep Yeti, or would have dropped someone for Yeti if they weren't really that great. I could have dropped Shadow, I guess, but I don't know. I felt like it was a bit unsafe in this kind of scenario.
Yeah, the thing with Yeti is that even if you were using the Valiant Knife offering with Yeti, which I think we saw some of our runners doing, he will every once in a while just say, you know what, I'm going to use Body Slam instead. And that sort of defeats the purpose of putting the the Valiant Knife on him, right? So I can understand why you wouldn't want to use Yeti in that particular circumstance. So
Plus,
having,
they did early Coliseum play, and there was nothing there at all.
absolutely
So, well,
nothing. Yeah, absolutely nothing. I think Nobody War, you found an Aura Lance late, but by that time you didn't really need it. But other than that, there's absolutely Garbo in there. I think Hefe fought like 7 battles of random status items before he did Phoenix down for a Rage Ring. And that saved his bacon when fighting Magimaster in the Floating Continent 2 spot. So, Jesus, you missed out on that fun when you noped out of the Floating Continent, I think, after the first or second round.
I was at 6 and 4, I think. And I was like, Floating Continent? Like, well, I need 4 dragons still. I can get 3 dragons with like 4 checks. Let me just do the checks first, because I might not only need 1 more Esper after I've finished doing all my dragons. So Floating Continent might just be a giant waste of time. So I decided to abort and do something else. Out of curiosity, how many Espers were on Floating Continent?
2 Espers, 1 dead check.
So it would have been much better for me to actually have done it.
Yeah, I mean, well, that led me into the question I was going to ask you was, how did having the dragon requirements affect your routing this seed? And it sounds like you went to favor dragon checks, and routing them in with your set of characters that you got.
Yeah, once I was comfortable killing a dragon, didn't think I'd have any trouble. I figured I'd just do checks that had dragons so I would get them out of the way while getting Espers. Turns out they were all dead, I think. But that was the reasoning.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
The biggest mistake I made was, apparently, and I did not know this, you can only do the statue skip once.
Yes.
So I accidentally sent Locke to the wrong side because I forgot it was statues, so I wanted him middle. and then I didn't do that. If I had Lock Middle, Tentacles, and Doom Train, no problem. Sellers Middle, that was a disaster. So I reset out, thinking, I'll warp out, go full middle, no problem. Can't do that, it seems.
Yeah. The statue skip is only available once per objective. So you could have multiple case T skip objectives, and after you unlock the Kefka Tower skip for, let's say, objective B and use it, you could then unlock the Kefka Tower skip for objective C, and it would allow you to skip back to the switches again. But
interesting.
It's only a one-time use skip, because the problem is we ended up having a situation where somebody was brilliant and was like, hey, I could just do my full party in the middle, warp out, warp back in, full party on the left, warp out, warp back in, full party on the right. And it kind of defeats the purpose of, Kefka's Tower if you're doing it like that, right?
Right.
So that's why we said, okay, let's do one skip only sort of deal. But yeah, so any other thoughts on the flag set overall here and some of the different options? Normalize and Distort definitely hit you like a truck for Merton anyway in the tier 3 fight, right?
No, I had zero problem with Hana Kefka at all. Tier 3 was no problem.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah,
sometimes it's hard to keep track of 3 different people with one person. So anyway,
yeah. Once I got 2 there, it was completely fine. I had Golem, I had the VK offering. Locke, of course, refused to take any damage, so he was sitting near max health, but still did like 3,000 per swing.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. I think when in the Ghost Train fight, you were at 6,000 damage and you did, I think, almost 4 per swing, and I was like, even at 3,000 HP, which is a lot, he'd be doing almost 8 times 8 times, or 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. What is that? 32? Don't math on stream, folks. It's bad for you. Which is a stupid number of damage. So, yeah, that would have been crazy. So, any other thoughts on the flag set or the options that you were given to work with tonight?
Not really. It was kind of straightforward. The only real curveball was Normalize and Distort. Having the 4 dragons was unusual, but I often get 2 or 3 dragons anyway, depending on the seed. This specific seed, of course, with the S replacement, made it very long.
Right.
But that's nothing to do with the flag set exactly. I am kind of disappointed we got the powerful characters flag instead of the chaotic stats.
Yeah.
I really wanted to have that 10% to 200% and forced you to think of what you're doing a little more. Because when everyone's plus 10 to 40%, even Cyan's viable. You're like, well, whatever, his stats are really good. Although he did have 28 magic, which is still
28 magic for dance, which is not very good. Yeah,
I didn't even look at the dances.
I think had we had chaotic characters instead of empowered characters, this would have taken a lot longer to do, especially with Normalize and Distort. I understand why. I understand why that particular pick was chosen. I think had we not picked Normalize and Distort, then chaotic characters would have been much more heavily favored, right? So
yeah, I could have actually I had a columnist, I could have wiped out the other character buff, but I was like, well, whatever.
Yeah. But hey, we had some powerful magic this seed, so it was just interesting. One last question for you. You are in this upcoming season of Ultras League, I'm assuming, yes?
That's the plan.
All right, awesome. Well, there is still time to sign up. I think the Ultras League will start at the end of October, the last Sunday in October. That's the 28th will be the start of Ultras League Season 5. I'm excited for it. Are you excited to get into some action?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've been doing pretty much a seed every day or 2, getting races. Definitely seeing an improvement from where I was just a bit ago. I started running it the end of July is when I did my first run, which is over 3 hours.
Awesome.
But now I'm getting usually under 90 minutes. I've won some races, which always feels good. So I feel like I'm gonna do all right make a good showing for myself at least. Looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we love having new members of the community, and thank you for volunteering to also be on Restream. I know you've been on Restream before on our other channel, but this is your first time here on Speed Gaming, so thank you for volunteering. Can't have the races without the runners, and good luck on this upcoming Ultras League season, and I hope to see you out there again.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, you got any other final thoughts before we close up shop here?
I would just say, if people are watching this and enjoying it, consider getting into it. It seems like a lot to have all at once, but it's really not as hard to get into racing as you might think. I just watched some streams for a little bit, and then read the wiki on the checks, and started asking questions and doing races or doing runs, and it was only a couple weeks before I was starting to get my times consistently down to the hour-and-a-half kind of range. So if you're thinking about it, just go for it. It's a lot of fun. And this is a great time because we're about to do an Ultras League.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about this particular game, is that there's almost endless replayability with it, and I'm glad that you decided to pick it up and join us, because it's a lot of fun. So again, thank you for doing that, and yeah, I think that's going to do it here for Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide on Speed Gaming. We'll be back next week around the same time. Don't know what channel we'll be on, so TBD. But again, thanks to the runners, and we'll catch everybody on the next one. See you later now. Thank you, everybody. Peace out.